Morning. I just moved my camera so it's in a better position. I've had several comments or questions about line and wash, what I actually use. So I'll try to explain a bit. This is just a matchstick sharpened and pushed into a piece of doweling with a hole drilled in it, and just push it in and there's your pen. And you can sharpen how you like. You can keep it pointed by using a bit of fine glass paper, sandpaper. I find that the more absorbent the wood, the better for texturing. That's one piece of equipment, and these are other bits that I use. Just bits of packing case, lolly sticks, twigs, anything sharpened up to make an implement to sketch with. I like this one, but it's just a personal preference. You have to try these things. But another very interesting variation is this. It's a quill pen. Now you can find out how to make these things on YouTube, good old YouTube. This one, I haven't cut this one very well, but the important thing is that there isn't on YouTube, as far as I can remember, is using a piece of copper foil like that. Just a thin strip, cut to 3 or 4 millimeters wide, but very thin, bendy. It's like a spring, and you bend it like that, and then you push it in to the quill, not too far, and now that acts as a reservoir for holding ink. The ink, you dip the pen in your black. Now this is black waterproof ink. That's all it is, nothing special. This is Data Rowney acrylic artist's ink. Acrylic artist's ink, and you can dip your pen in your quill. I got this quill. I got a lot of them, actually. I'll show you. They start off. This I found a dead swan on a beach so many years ago, and I had a craft blade with me for sharpening pencils, and I hacked away at the swan's wings. I didn't kill the swan. It was on the beach. I couldn't miss the opportunity to get something like this, and I got about 20 of them, all the flight feathers, and I don't use them very often. I prefer the sticks, but these are the sort of marks you can get with them. It depends how you cut them. So dip it in enough so I've got some ink in it. But and it'll keep writing for quite a time. Whereas if you didn't use the reservoir, it would run out quite quickly. So there we are. This is on the back of a failure. I'll get a few failures. We'll get a lot of failures actually. It's a bit messy, but good fun. I'm going to just dry that off now. And I'm going to do just a simple line and wash, or try to do a simple line and wash. So there we are, put that to one side and go. I've done a rough drawing of just a barn, nothing of any great skill, and I'll use this stick. It's about 1/4 inch square. Could be anything. Get it from a wood workshop, any building supply merchant, or you can pick it up in the street, or you can cut it for yourself, just to make something to draw with. So here we are. Let's just etch in or sketch in the shape of this rough shape of the barn, and you can put a big door in here. door here, and another building here, bit of a roof, workshop, annex, just something, a bit of interest. And then we can to put some foliage and a bit of ink work around there. Just move it, that's out of the way. I'll put a bit of a background in here, and we can put in some trees. It's very sketchy. This is just a quick demonstration of using every bit of the stick. I'm using the side of the stick now for this sort of texturing. You could get carried away with doing this sort of stuff, but it's a lot of fun. There are some great painters, Roland Hilder, Edward Weston, that used a lot of ink. Edward Weston did some lovely drawings of churches and buildings, just using a stick. Marvellous work. Roland Hilder, he painted a lot of Essex boatyard type scenes, Essex barns, Kent oast houses. Marvellous ink work. And you don't have to be very accurate. It just gives a bit of character to a painting. And all you do really with the painting is just fill in really. It really is that simple. I'm not doing anything in particular. Bit of shadow under the thatch. Roland Hilder was a great one for blacking out the whole sides. Any walls in the shadow, he put them in black. And by the time you put your colour on, it reduces the contrast between the black and the white, obviously. Now, one thing you need to be careful of is the ink being dry before you start painting, otherwise it will bleed into the paint. So just dry it off, and I'll use a bit of a dry, just one or two bits, but it saves ruining a painting. Now the hake that I'm using is Ron Ranson hake. It's just under 2 inches wide. And thanks, Bill, for the tip of squeezing some glue to stop the hairs from falling out. Some super glue. That one's it's all permanently wet, but I've got another one. Well, I did have, and the hairs are falling out. It's here somewhere, and I might have a go with that. See what happens. Right, I'll just draw the colours in a little bit. The sun's come out. The lousy, windy, wet night. Half of England shut down with the weather. Well, the other half with the tube strike underground. Right, I'll wet the paper all over because this is a wetting wet. I'm using Fabriano, £130 for this. This gives a nice softness to the painting, and it also helps the paper to expand uniformly, where we can stretch it between the clips and something loose ends. But these brushes, I don't know if they're really worth sticky. It's a good idea, but they're cheap enough. They're only about £7 or £8, and they last for ages. Right, okay. Usual palette of lemon yellow, raw sienna, alizarin crimson, light red, ultramarine, burnt umber, Payne's grey, and burnt sienna. I'll give that a bit of a quick clean, so we start off at least not in a mess. If you see these trays for sale, these ones I bought online from, I can't remember the company now, but they are available in packs of 2. You don't need to buy 20, 30 of them, because they're like display trays, food trays in butcher shops, I think. But they make wonderful palettes, and they're very durable. Okay, so I'll put in a bit of a burnt sienna in the sky there. This is my light warm area. Mix a bit of light red with that. Go all over it. Bit of burnt umber, I think, for a wash over the landscape. Right, clean my brush and go in with a bit of a blue-grey sky, because Payne's grey, blue, ultramarine. Just reflect the sort of weather that we've been having. A bit darker over the top there. Right, okay. Just take off some of this excess water. I've got the board at about 40 degrees, something like that. It still runs down, but if I put it too flat, it's difficult to film. It's quite bright in the studio today. I've just closed the Velux window blind because the sun actually appeared, but I'm using a couple of overheads, this sort of spotlights, just to add a bit of brightness to the camera. I'll alright, let's just dry that off. Right, now that's dry as I want it. I'll use one of my round brushes to do my background. Just very simply roughed in. And you can always put a bit of sienna in with that, just to a lot of that's going to be covered up. And I'll put in some bit of grass and field. Vary the colours. just won't get it exciting, so I try to put in the roof for this this thatch. A bit of shadow. I was quickly sketching the road, same colour as the sky, I think. Okay. Now the good thatch colour was always raw sienna and a bit of burnt umber, a bit of grey, and we'll put in a little bit of green for the moss. Okay, let's put in a bit of cloud shade. No, I'll put a red roof on here. Right, so the light's coming from here, so this will be dark. That'll be not quite so dark. So for a common thatch type of barn, with a bit of cloth. So that's nice yellowy. I'll leave a margin underneath this roof. I don't want the roof to bleed into this. That would be dark there. And we'll have a darker version of in there. Vary the colour. And right, let that go for a minute. Let's put in some background trees here. Oops. This paper is not that really suitable for a lot of good dry brushing. Let's put in some blue there. Come out a bit warm there. Here, sort of a winter scene, so a bit of green. Bit of ivy in there. And we'll do the same. All very simple. And then just a bit of dry brush here with it takes, just to rough it up a little bit, and some grassy. Now I'll put a bit of cloud shadow, under cloud shadow, some shadow underneath the eaves. And now we'll put in this gate. A little bit of detail in the trees. I'll try to bring this to life now. These will dry lighter than they show up here. When you use a rigger, don't just use the point of it. Like, it's got much more to it than that. It's got the whole length of it, which you can use. Just for even just a bit of texturing. You could do that with the ink, of course. Just adds a bit of interest to the foreground. But the interest here isn't the foreground; it's the barn and the trees. So. Make sure there's no paint on my hand where I'm resting, otherwise it'll end up in the sky. Just showing a bit of texture in the road or path, track, whatever you want it to be. That's a bit of texture on the barn, I think. Show a bit of a rough wall, but not too much. Roughing this, I'm making it look a bit old. Now, I reckon, dry it off. Well, I think a figure would not go amiss. It's got to be the scale. bit of shadow in. In there. Well, now that couldn't be more simple, could it really? That is as simple as I can make it as a demonstration of doing a drawing in ink roughly, and just filling in with colour. You can even put a little bird up here. Now the figure gives, apart from the building, the figure gives scale to the building. You know by the size of the figure roughly how big in perspective the barn is and everything else. I'll put that in amount and we'll have a look to see what we have done. Where's the clip? Right, and that at hand. Let's now let's just take it down a little bit. Right. So there we are. It's a very, very simple demonstration of using black acrylic waterproof ink, wet in wet. I'll go into that a little bit. You can see what I've done. Again, see, nothing really. Very, very simple, very rough. No degree of finish, but just an impression, just a sketch. Using a bit of this acrylic drawing ink. So, as a demonstration, it shows what I wanted it to show, and I hope it's answered some of your questions about using ink. It's good fun, and you can make it as elaborate as you like, but try to leave the finished painting as uncluttered as possible. Make your statement and leave it at that. That's just that I could make a couple of nice oil paintings from that if I ever had the desire to. There's enough in it. It's got some distant trees, some smaller trees but nearer, the barn, a couple of outbuildings, and nothing much else really. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.